Money Radio, discussing the business of making and spending money.
Good warm Thursday afternoon, all of you following us on Leadership Podcast. You are welcome to the tourism segment of Leadership Podcast. We're streaming live from the beautiful city of Abuja. You're welcome. We are discussing an important topic today, and in the studio with me, you will be very delighted to have the people who are going to quite entertain, not just entertain, but educate you on the issue. My name is Case Harmon. I'm your host. On my left is Jerry Emerson. Jerry, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. On my right is Isaac Aimori.
My pleasure to be here again.
Yes. Thank you very much for being here. Nigerians were delighted and are delighted today that more than a century ago, artifacts that were taken from the shores of Nigeria are being returned. And as one of the speakers at the ceremony yesterday said, the issue was, why are these things not in their places of origin, where they don't belong here? This is not our culture. They are supposed to be where they belong. And that was what inspired or motivated the students. It was students, actually. That's what inspired the students to begin a campaign. Look, let these things go back to their places, to their rightful places. And about, say, 5 years on now, we're seeing the reality surface. So let's discuss the issue. The return of the looted Benin bronze. These bronzes were, look at it there, so beautiful.
Yes, I am so happy, because we are talking about my people here. We're talking about technology.
Yes, I forgot to mention that this is a man of the kingdom. Yeah. Yes, this man of the kingdom is poised to do justice. Yeah.
Yes. I was actually moved to tears, yesterday when I watched that landmark, that grand event. Where,
sorry, Isaac.
yes.
Since the bronze is being shown now,
yes.
I want to ask you a question just before you go on.
Yes.
Is this in a pristine state or it has been tampered with? What do you think?
But actually, what happens is when you remove these works from their places of origin, okay, and you expose them to other weather conditions, chances are that the weather could impact.
That's true.
Okay.
That's true.
So what these Europeans do, what some museums do, is to create that weather condition, okay, that can favor that favorable weather condition where the object, okay, would still look very good, retain its look.
Yeah, that's quite beautiful.
Yes.
Yeah. So you were saying something.
Yes, I said, I was moved yesterday because several years ago, about 8-9 years ago, I was part of this campaign as a tourism reporter in this town.
Yeah.
Okay, and the campaign was at its height then, because they came up with all kinds of arguments. That is, those that are, holding on to these prized Benin heritage objects, because that's what they are. Okay, their argument was that the world has gone global, so we could also have a global museum. It didn't matter where an artwork or a heritage object emanated, from, insofar as people can access it from anywhere, from any part of the world. People say no. Okay, these are not just mere artworks. Okay, they speak to the culture, the tradition, and of course the spiritual aspect, that is the non-material aspect of culture. For some of them, you get it, and they needed to go home. Okay.
Yeah.
So, and we are, of course, before now we've seen the German government was seeing, some other museums in Europe, return, some works, and
You know, those works of art must be really interesting to these people. Because the loot was
yes,
it was widespread. But let me just invite to the studio or mention that we have a guest also. Her name is Ngozi John Uya. She's director and the head of department at the Department of Documentation and Monitoring, National Art Gallery. Madam, you're welcome. Hope you
Thank
can
you
hear us.
very much for having me.
Yeah, thanks for
Yeah,
being
I can
with
hear you.
us.
Can you hear me? Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we hear you loud and clear. Thanks very much for being here with us. Can you hear us? Can you hear us?
The line,
We
the
can,
line is wobbling a little bit.
All
okay.
right.
Can you, okay, we can hear you over here
We
now.
we hear you clearly.
Okay, I can hear you now.
So let's
Very
Good
good.
afternoon, gentlemen. Thank you for having me.
Good
Yeah.
afternoon, madam.
Good
It's our
afternoon.
pleasure
In the studio here is Jerry Evanson, and I'm the host, Case Hammond, and then Isaac, the man of the kingdom. He's here with us too. So, yeah. So, please let's have
Nice
your thoughts
meeting you
on.
all.
Yeah, nice to meet you. And you're on to Leadership Podcast. We're streaming live from Abuja. So let's have your thoughts also on the return of that work of art. It's so beautiful. And these things were looted some more than a century ago, 1897.
Yes.
That means we're talking about 124 years now, by a rough calculation. 124 years now. That's quite a long time. Yeah. So it's a delight to have these things come back. So let's have your thoughts. How do you feel about
Okay,
the turn events?
very elated, really, really elated. And I mean, we'll see, like you said, it's about 124 years old. Well, I'm speaking not authoritatively, as I'm not speaking from a position of authority, because the parastatal that's in charge is the National Commission for Museums and Monuments, the sister parastatal. I'm talking as a Nigerian, talking as a cultural enthusiast and a cultural ambassador. And for us, it just shows the level of expertise that Nigeria has had over the years, right from many, many centuries ago. I think it was it's Pablo Picasso who took his inspiration from Africa and African art. It's a huge plus for us in these times when we're having Nigeria having bad press. And for me, it's going to help us boost visits, because the museums where they were getting the throng of people who were going to the museums in the US, in Germany, in Europe. Most of them go there to see African art, and most of these African arts are Nigerian. Most of them their origin is Nigeria. And so with the return of this, and then the OBAP and the NGO that is working on building the museum, it's going to boost tourism and boost the GDP, boost earnings for the state and Nigeria as a whole. The airlines will gain, transport business, the people, because the visitors will, when the visitors throng there, they will use taxis, they'll be in hotels, they will eat food. So the hospitality industry as a whole, and then the financial services, everybody, it's a win-win for Nigeria. It's a win-win for Nigeria. And maybe we'll begin to have people coming to Nigeria to see these things and take away from the security, the focus on insecurity in the country. So for me,
Yeah.
it's a win-win for us. It's a very good thing for us. And then the bronze, like I heard somebody saying, was well kept. It was well kept because it was well made in the first place. And so for us at this point in Nigeria, having all those bronzes returned from the US, from Europe, from the UK, it's a big thing for us at this point in time. Yes.
Lovely. I would like to bring up an issue, but maybe we'll discuss that later. The issue I want to bring, should we begin to press charges against those who have been hosting these works of art for 124 years in terms of lost revenue from tourism? Because they have been having it for 124 years and it was a crime. They actually stole this thing. Or should we look at it from the perspective that, well, now that it's coming, it's getting much publicity and it will actually attract tourists at this, more tourism at this time? How do you think? Before my in-house analysts begin to push some questions toward your end also. What do you think? Is this the right time?
Well, yes, there's no better time to press charges. There's no better time to ask for. Well, maybe not necessarily press charges. We'll start first with from a point of view of communication, negotiation, and then when it fails, then maybe we need to press charges because the country needs to be compensated for lost revenue, and then of course what they have earned from tourists visiting the museums where these things were, we should get a share of it. And apart from that, they should even also send an apology because not only did they take our people into slavery, they still looted our artifacts. So I think we should receive not only an apology, but we should also be compensated financially. Yes, that's my take.
Lovely. You like to ask?
Yes. Before my question, I want to also put in perspective, the fact that, the circumstances, in which these objects were taken. Okay. I mean, the facts are in our history books. Okay. That attack was unprovoked, was unnecessary. It was a punitive attack. They didn't have any reason, to descend on Benin people the way they did in 1897. Okay, because if you look at it from that perspective, then the issue of charges, the issue of reparation, and all of that, will now make sense.
Yeah.
Okay, because they burnt houses, they looted the city dry. Okay, made away with prize objects, just name it. Okay, in their thousands. You get it. So I think it is a right thing to begin to ask for reparation, to begin to ask for some compensation.
Yeah.
For that unwarranted, that unnecessary, attack. You wouldn't have the firepower that they had. Okay. They could have gotten what they wanted. They could have gotten around all the issues through engagements, through negotiation. Okay, at the time they came, the Oba of Benin, that is our king, had a ceremony, a spiritual event at the time, and he said he wasn't disposed to receiving, visitors. Okay, they said they wanted him to sign a treaty, and all of that, and came under the guise of trade and all that. You get it. But we know that they had their eyes on our natural resources. That was what it was about. Okay. So for that, we need to be compensated.
Yeah.
We need to be compensated. So if we are the ones that are forgiving them, it's a different thing. Because like this particular artwork that was returned, yesterday to Edo people, somebody blew the whistle.
Yeah.
You understand? They were embarrassed. When some students say no, this should not be the symbol of an institution.
Jesus College.
You get it. A globally, respected institution. Okay, that if this object was taken from the people and under this circumstance, then it has to be returned. Okay.
But look at it from another perspective. This thing was taken by government force by the British government.
Yes.
And it was bought from the British government by this what's his name of it? It's Cambridge. Is it Cambridge?
Yeah.
Cambridge
In
University.
law, even in our law, the person buying a stolen item is as guilty as the person that stole it.
You're more like an accomplice.
Yes.
All
You
right.
know.
So,
So we deserve it. We deserve the compensation.
Madam, please stay with us. We want to take a short break, a real short break. When we come back, we would like you to take a few of our questions, a few more of our questions. So please stay with us. Listeners, please also stay with us. We'll be back.
For sponsorship and advert placements, please contact 080-3688-6158. Last Word Leadership Podcast Studio. You have the last word.
Money Radio, discussing the business of making and spending money.
You're welcome back to Leadership Podcast. So we're discussing the return of an artifact yesterday from the UK to Nigeria, something that had been stolen more than 124 years ago, and we are happy about that. Still with me in the studio as Isaac and Jerry. I'm Case Hammond. We have a guest who is doing justice to the issue, and she is Madam Ngozi John Uya. We say thanks for being with us. You're welcome back. So, you wanted to ask a question.
Okay, yeah. Are you there? Hello. Okay. I'd like to ask. We have quite
Hello,
a
we can
number.
hear you.
We have quite a number of these artifacts across UK, UK, yeah. As much as we have quite a number of them, and
Across the world, actually.
across the world, and as they begin to, return back into the country now, and as we are now in Nigeria, we are still grappling with the issue of insecurity. Now, how safe are these artifacts when they begin to make inroads back into the country? How can we?
Well, for me, I think the country, I think Nigeria as a country, we know the value of these artifacts, both in terms of their value, pecuniary value, and value, cultural value, and what they will mean to us, and how they will attract people to us. And I think the government at the federal and state levels will do all they can to protect them. We cannot speak categorically and say, oh yes, they are safe 100%, or no, they are not safe. But at what point in time will they return that they will be 100% safe? So for me, I think that government knows how, for government to have gone all the way to negotiate, because the negotiation for this, the request for these things to be returned didn't start today. And so for government to go all out to do it, we should know that when they come back, we'll need to protect them from being relooted.
Apart from this, from what we received yesterday, there are thousands of other artifacts.
7,000, I hear.
7,000. Wow.
That are due to be returned, yes.
All right. So, do we have facilities to house these artifacts? Take, for example, those from Benin. like this one that was returned yesterday. There are others coming. But do we have what it will require to house these artifacts? 7,000. Suppose we receive 7,000 of them, say this year. Do we have the facilities to house them, or not just housing them in a general museum or just a general maybe a warehouse, where they are supposed to be, where they are supposed to impact educationally? Do we have them?
Well, like I said before, I can't speak. The people who will be in the best position to answer you categorically will be officials of the National Commission for Museums and Monuments. I work for National Gallery of Art, but I have an interest. And incidentally, this I was in a discussion panel where we talked about this, which was organized by the EU, about the returning the works. There was a discussion, and we do know that there's a museum that the Oba is proposing, and the Oba has said that even before, he's working with, the Oba has provided the land. The National Commission for Museums and Monuments is involved. There's an NGO that is also involved, and the museum is being built to house the objects that are being returned in Benin, the Benin objects. And I think also maybe Ife too, they're making the same kinds of arrangements. But I think that adequate arrangement has been made to house these objects. I think the Oba has made room and prepared, to keep them in storage where they'll be kept securely, probably maybe even exhibited until the museum is built. But there's a museum that is being built for these artifacts that are being returned and other cultural objects of the Benin Kingdom.
Yeah, yeah, that's very correct, actually, because the Benin Royal Museum is in the works, and the location is just around the Oba's Palace, in Benin. And even if, like you asked, if we have 7,000 of these prize objects today, okay, we have museums that are scattered across the country. Okay, if you walk into some of these museums now, they're largely empty. You get it? So in the interim, we can, actually keep them there while work on the Benin Royal Museum proposed by the Oba of Benin. As work because as they are working on that. Yeah,
I'm wondering, just like this is coming from a university, it has been its home over the past 118 years has been Jesus College in Cambridge University. I'm thinking it will be useful for our local universities also. Some of them may find interest in housing these, which will be educational, especially for students of history or students of arts.
Yeah, very true.
They be educational for them also. But I'm thinking, do we have the teachers to tell the historical yes, not just the
story,
background, but
the story.
The story behind all of these, what they stand for. It's not just having this and it being just what it is, but it has, just like when you enter an art gallery, you have people who tell you, curators who tell you, this is what this is, this is what it is. It has been in existence for so and so years, and it stands for this stands for that.
Very true. The truth is, we still have universities that are graduating students, that studied courses, related courses. Okay, so but I think what we need to start looking at is how the private sector can also come into this industry. Okay, because some of these museums that are housing these objects abroad, they are private museums. Okay, yes, they're private museums. You get it? So they're owned by individuals. Some, they're largely private museums. So individuals can also, set up museums, art enthusiasts, people who understand the industry, then employ people, and also use it, for business, for knowledge acquisition, and all that.
Maybe for something like this, the kingdom may have to send a representative to teach the significance of.
No, well, for our people,
because they may understand it.
Yeah, of course. I mean, for the Benin people, our stories are, as we grow, it's part of the socialization process. Okay, so they tell you all the stories. My grandfather told me, the stories about the Benin massacre, as they call it, that punitive expedition. Okay, so I think an average Benin man guy, has a fair knowledge, of our people, and all the things that have happened over the years. So this is also an opportunity. I mean, they can be hired, to serve in the capacity you just mentioned.
Yeah. So, Madam, you want to say something?
I also think that this is the right time to begin to put plans in place to see how, as these artifacts are being returned, to see how it can generate, they can position them and get the private, like you mentioned, private business owners or investors, to begin to see how revenue can come from.
Very true. Yeah, and I also need to add that the Edo State government too is also working, like the representative of the Oba at that occasion yesterday rightly said, and that the state government is also working with the royal house, that is the Oba's palace in Benin, to ensure that this museum is built, soon, so that we'll be able to the facility that can house these objects.
One thing that fascinates me is, or that amazes me, I wonder how the students of this university, where this thing has been housed for more than a century now, will look at them and think that Africans are uncivilized, because this is a work of art, and it's an intelligent work of art.
Of course.
Yes. Madam, would you like to tell our listeners some last word before we leave you?
One thing I would say, in addition to what you just said, we have, when you ask the question about the manpower, we do have very, very well-trained curators. We have museologists in Nigeria who can tell you the story of to guide people, like you were asking, when they come to see those artifacts in the museums. And of course, just like you said, their works, nobody will look at that work. Anybody who looks at that work, I'm sure the students in that school will look at that work and not think of Nigerians as uncivilized, because if something that came from maybe 2 centuries, 3 centuries ago can be that intricate, can have that amount of detail, I'm sure they would know that these were made by intelligent people who, even though they were, education sometimes is not the hallmark of intelligence or cognitive senses, you understand? So they wouldn't look at those works and believe that Nigerians are uncivilized. It's the people who haven't come in contact with works that have come out of Africa, that have come out of Nigeria, that would think that Africans are uncivilized. I think civilization, we read in history that civilizations are from Africa, and this is just a testament to that fact.
Very true.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We say thank you very much, Madam, for being with us. We hope you can come some other time. You honor our invitation some other time to talk about issues.
Yes, I would. Yes, I would. Yes, I would. Thank you so very much for having me. Thank you.
Yeah.
And do have a beautiful day, rest of the day.
Yeah. Thanks. So that's the much we can take this afternoon leadership podcast. Thanks for being with us. Thanks for being with us.
My pleasure, guys. Yeah. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah. So we'll be here tomorrow with another bumper edition. Please remain loyal. You can always get the facts and the latest financial and economic issues discussed here at Leadership Podcast Money Radio. So until we meet again, I say stay blessed, stay safe. Coronavirus is real.
Thank you for watching. For sponsorship and advert placements, please contact 080-3688-6158. Last Word Leadership Podcast Studio. You have the last word.